Hi, everyone. My name is Debbie Manville, and I run the 1 Million Diamonds Art Instagram. Today, I'm talking with Elizabeth Traina.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. We're going to be talking to her a little bit about her art process, a little bit about her background, what she's doing right now, and also at the end, we're going to be doing a guided meditation, which is going to be really cool. I'm excited to try this out. So let's start with your background a little bit.
Yeah, so I grew up here in New York. I as a young kid, I knew I wanted to pursue art, like intuitively, but I lacked the like mentorship and the support to kind of track me on that. So my whole journey is cultivating myself as an artist has been a little bit um, of a self-made story. I had to sort of figure it out, and it continues to unfold that way. And now when I reflect, I'm like, oh well, that was part of it. It was part of how I developed the divergent thinking that I've needed to create the work that I'm doing now. So yeah, so when I was at that critical time of what do I want to study, where do I want to go, I did not pursue art. I deeply wanted to, but it wasn't what unfolded. And it was interesting. I was in college, and I was, just like studying like a general liberal arts major, and had developed like a really great group of friends, and was taking psychedelics and was expanding my mind in all these other ways. And sort of out of the blue, I painted a mural in the back of my dorm room, and that was the catalyst. There wasn't a lot of other people there that identified it as artists, and there was something about being seen as the artist in the community, and people would come and see this mural, and it gave me the boost that I needed to sort of catapult out of that environment and get myself in a situation where I could learn and I could expand and grow. And that was Vermont. So that's where I ended up. And it was beautiful because Vermont nurtured me in many ways. It nurtured my creativity, but it also nurtured me with the natural world, with mysticism, with spirituality, and also connecting to this wide range of artists, musicians, poets, environmentalists. It was a really cool time. It was pre-internet, pre-cell phone. We were all figuring it out and riding the different waves at that time, and it was great. So that gave me some foundation to build my understanding of my voice as a painter, and also the courses and the pursuit that I was taking at the time. We were bringing art into and education settings that weren't necessarily schools. So we were working in senior centers, in homeless shelters, and I started to see the value of art as a tool for service. And that has really run through my work over the years.
Okay, very cool. And you were talking about doing the murals. So do you have some images of the murals that you've done?
Yeah, I do. Um, I'm going to screen share.
Please do.
So in this, you got it up there?
Yes, I do. That's one of your more recent paintings, right?
Yes, this is my website, and the studio work is it opens up to the studio work, and we can flip through that later if you'd like. And then there's a mural section, and then the mural section, this is some of the more recent work that I've done at the Assemblage, which is a co-working space here in New York. This is a piece that's at Minka, Brooklyn. This is a piece that's in Bushwick. These are some
Nice.
pieces I've done in Indonesia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with the embassy there.
That's gorgeous. How long were you there for?
I was there doing the work for a month. Um,
Nice.
it was great. Yeah, it was really fantastic. And we were doing work with the women there. Um, I have some photos of that project. And my
Wow.
community murals, let's see. Yeah, so this was the Indonesia work. The lighting on these is a little crazy, but we were working with different women's groups, um, leading workshops. This was my collaborator, Imani Roberts, and um, we were working with the community and exploring different themes of empowerment, and then taking their ideas and assembling them into these unified compositions. And then we would create, scaffolding literally and structure to let the women participate in the creation of the work. This was
Nice.
one of the workshops. And the foundation for me having the tools to do this work um, was actually really cultivated after college. I moved out to San Francisco, and during that time was working in public ed and um, doing a lot of work with community to support school beautification and community beautification. And I, learned over the years how to facilitate these group processes to support community in having a sense of ownership over the work. This was my last piece that I did in a public school, one of my last pieces. And
Where is it?
this is in Canarsie,
Okay.
at South Shore High School. This is in the dance room, so the whole wall is actually mirrored.
Oh,
Um, and you can see in the earlier slide, like it was just really a bleak wall. It was just this like really bleak wall and all these kind of like saggy fluorescent lights. And we really transformed this space. But this was a departure point for me because in this piece, I designed the work. I sort of took the community's ideas and assimilated the needs of the community, but it really came through my own filter as an artist in a more profound way. And this was a departure point for me because I realized the value of really leading the aesthetic of the work with a greater direction, and having it really nod to my own vision as an artist and how that still is service. A lot of my previous community murals were every part of the mural was really extracted from the community. And these pieces, these pieces here, this is one of my photo from my classroom. Um, there was just a moment of making the call that I'm going to work with the community, but I'm gonna hold a little bit more of the reins of where this is going to go visually. So yeah, that's some of the community work,
okay.
and that's not as active in my practice right now. Things have really shifted when I took a step back from working in public schools and, focusing my creative energy towards the studio work. But something that is consistent with my pursuit of more focusing on the studio work is still this idea of service. It's almost a more refined expression of service, coming through these geometry forms.
Okay, now this is sacred geometry. And can you explain to everyone a little bit about that?
Yeah, so sacred geometry, for instance, this is the Merkaba, very common sacred geometry form that many people are becoming familiar with. Sacred geometry is the building blocks of all. So it's the way our bodies are assembled and the proportions and shapes of our body. It is it's found all throughout plant life and nature. It's the way the planets orbit around each other and orbit around the sun, create sacred geometric patterns. Uh, excuse me. So these patterns are the building blocks for all. So when we gaze upon them and we allow their forms to enter our consciousness through our eyes and our perception, we are activating the deeper understandings of our own position within our own lives, within the universe. It in that way they have a very like harmonizing effect, um, because they give us a position, they give us a sense of belonging, because inherently we're all part of this great web. So that's you know the idea of what sacred geometry is and how it serves. This piece in particular, this is the Merkaba, and the Merkaba is home to all of the platonic solids, and the platonic solids are the geometric patterns of all of life. Um, so this is all of the forms. So each one of them is layered, and that's why this piece can like flicker, and sometimes you're seeing the cube, and sometimes you're seeing the tetrahedron, sometimes you're seeing the isodahedron, depending on how the shape presents itself to you at any given time. And each one of those platonic solids represents the building blocks of matter. And if we look at the murals, this is the Merkaba in a different variation,
Mm-hmm.
with a different palette and a different emphasis on what forms are kind of coming to the surface.
Okay.
And then these are the platonic solids in their unique expression that are actually layered together to form the complexity of this.
Let me ask you, while you're making these and sketching them out, I guess you sketch them before you put them on the wall.
Yeah.
What kind of thoughts do you have? Are they are they broad range? Do they feel kind of more elemental? Do they feel very natural?
Well,
After you ritual to do it, do you have like a special ritual? Like, do you start listening to music before you start drawing?
yeah, yeah. There's the way in which I arrive to make work, it varies. Like this piece, particularly right here, light work, and this is at Minka Brooklyn, which is a healing space. This was really thinking about, okay, what's going on in this space? And this space, they offer acupuncture and all the manner of healing arts. They also have a really strong social justice agenda. It's run by people of color. It's a really safe and accessible space. There's an availability and accessibility that they're really working with. So I'm taking in the components of the organization. I'm also taking in what's going on outside the windows of the space, and the palette of what's happening on the street. So, this brick red, for instance, pairs perfectly with the brick building that's outside the window. So I'm bringing in the energy of the surrounding neighborhood and thinking about what's going to be the form that naturally, seamlessly ties the space together and also invites the next level of expansion. So what naturally came forward is this radiant orb, this idea of expansiveness, of expanding what's going on here to the community. Again, bringing some of these colors from the floor, from the building outside the window, from the trees across the way. And then the center form is really bringing in, where are we going? This divine intelligence. So this is an abstracted interpretation of the 7 chakra system, the crown representing in gold, the third eye in this flower form here, the throat chakra in the blue, the heart in the center of the painting represented with pink and greens, moving into the yellow, and then coming down with this like flowering root form. But the intention of the work was to find that balance between something that invites you into your next level of awareness and attainment of power, while simultaneously working with what is and anchoring what is in a friendly and kind way. So I think with the work, they all are coming forward with this spirit of friendliness. Like, how do I present work that engages in a complex way, but also is friendly to the eye and friendly to the spirit. And I think that inquiry is where the work then generates. And sometimes it is music, or it is prayer, or it is ritual that creates the momentum for the creation. But it also is this idea of friendliness and this idea of presenting a piece of work that's accessible.
Okay.
That, yeah. And that accessibility connects back to my past where I was bringing art into communities, mostly working for 15 years, working mostly in inner city public schools where there's just a deficit of creative opportunity. So
Hmm.
how do I create imagery that makes this available? I think in the higher art world, we often value the intellectualism of art and we perpetuate the isolation that the art has from the general population in order to validate this pursuit um, of intellectual rigor. And I'm sort of, my work is coming in as a counterbalance to that. Like, how do I create work that has a complexity, but it also is incredibly accessible? This is a piece I did at a middle school. This is an outdoor piece, and it says, "All I desire is within me." Um, yeah, and then this is a really large mural. This is a community-based mural in New Orleans. My last
Wow.
piece, I lived in New Orleans. This really wraps around. I worked with a folk artist there in some of the illustration of this.
Okay.
Um, and this, we had like 200 people participate, and it's a map of the Seventh Ward moving into the Lower Nine and some of the community resources that are available. So we did this sort of map of New Orleans, and
Cute. I like it.
food co-op. Yeah,
So show me what you're working on right now.
sure. I'm gonna flip the screen. How do I do this? Oh, stop share. There we go. Okay. So what I'm working on right now, well, this is a piece behind me that I just finished. And the name of this piece is New Beginnings. So that's, I haven't yet even put it on my website. It's super fresh. And I was, suggesting that we work with this piece for the meditation portion of our time together. But so New Beginnings is coming through at this wild time of transformation that's touching all of us. This, whenever we had such a global conversation of change. And so this painting has been made during this time. Um, and I'm happy to have it completed and able to share it with the world. They take quite a long time, the pieces, because there's this dance of not only harmonizing the form, but also harmonizing the colors so that they all are speaking in the same velocity of transparency. So they're definitely labors of love. And I'm just starting a new painting now. I'm working with the Tree of Life form. And that's part of this ongoing series that I'm playing around with, cultivating the 7 directions: north,
Okay.
east, southwest, above, below, and within. So if we want to go to screen share again, I can share those with you. That'd
Please
be
do.
okay. So this is south, and these are large. These are 72 by 60.
Wow.
These are, you know,
That one's gorgeous. That's like my favorite. So.
yeah, this baby's amazing.
Woo.
And this is, taller than me, so it's a real body experience. And for the 4 directions, north, east, south, and west, I'm painting them in this large scale so that eventually they can be hung in a way that offers this like portal chamber. And this came to me as you know, I recently moved into a new place, new studio, and the first body of work that came through was to work with the 4 directions to almost position my creative endeavors, and to create this almost like map for others, so we can all, when you find your position, then we can progress forward, and each one is paired with a different transmission of the way in which this form serves. So south, as a direction, um, has its own personality, its own ways in which to support our earth walk. And if you'd like, I can read this aloud.
Sure.
The southern portal is the element of fire, the sun at its highest point of summer fullness. So this is, right now we just moved out of the our summer equinox.
Mhm.
Direction of the heart, generosity, sensitivity, loyalty, noble passions, chivalry, and love. The love of South is an unconditional love for all. South can support you to purify the heart by manifesting the lessons of love and fear. Utilize the red ruby rays at the base chakra to transform illusions of separation. Direct your consciousness to understand, bless, and send back to the source any limiting thought forms of anger or resentment. Heal and strengthen the ability to express your feelings openly and freely without guilt in a way that does not hurt other beings. Create space within, activate your sun filled horizons with the spectrum of light to increase intellectual clarity, capacity, and capability for genuine love and warmth from others. South can support you to transcend, rise up, and stand in the center point to fulfill your unique soul's mission by drawing to you the virtues of honor, faith, trust, and love. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Invite South to assist in activating the fullness of your eternal heart divine. Embody the integrity of your sovereign nobility as your only reality.
Your
Yeah.
diction is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited for the meditation because you have the perfect voice for it.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Show me
And
some
then,
more of these too. These are great.
yeah, and this is above.
Okay.
And above came through in this, monochromatic indigo palette, really just, and this is smaller. I think this is 30 by 30. Yeah. And this is, above, this is all about being in the now, disassociating with the mental mind and moving your consciousness to be one with all. Yeah. And this piece, this is not part of the four directions, but this was the sovereign portal, which is really soothing in its own way. And then in contrast with south, this is north. So this, this is pairing with the first one that I showed. This is also 72 by 60. And this is a totally different direction with a completely different energy. And this is where I'm working with the squaring of the circle, super base elemental geometry, very, very quiet. And when I researched north, the research sort of starts at the beginning of the process. It may happen in the middle, and then at the end, I may research as I'm composing the transmission that pairs with the work. And it was really interesting because when I was painting this one, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to reference the other four directions in this piece. It just felt like the right thing to do. And then when I was researching it, it says, fourth is all the wisdom of the other four directions learned and integrated. And I'm like, of course. And so this painting comes through in a much more quiet energy. And this is elders. This is winter. This is really about stepping into a different quality of wisdom.
It's got amazing tints to it and lightness.
Yeah, super tender. And the grandparent energy, right? It's like grandparents, they love you unconditionally, even when you're like off the rails, you know? They're just steady and they're non-confrontational. Where South is, even though it's a very friendly form, it's way more confrontational. It's way more engaging. It's coming through with a completely different medicine.
It seems very passionate to me.
Yeah, yeah, and sensual. Where North, in contrast, much more chill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's like a
actually,
snowy day.
totally, totally. So this is what I'm working on. Up next, East and West,
Nice.
and the tree of life is going to be the map for the within. And for those who are curious what the tree of life is, just been meditating. I don't know. Do you see me, or I have to?
I would unshare.
Okay. So this is the tree of life.
Oh my. That is something.
Yeah.
You have to
This is,
screenshot that later.
yeah. Really interesting to research that and so what is engaging with these geometry do they help cultivate our sovereignty, which is our destiny, getting us out of this mind control, this fear, domination, and control matrix, and into knowing who we truly are so we can live our best life. This idea of progress is like, we have no idea really where we're going. We can't judge our progress by looking forward, because the forward is in the unknown. But we can judge our progress by looking backwards and be like, wow, we've really have cultivated so much. And now we're shaking everything up so we can move into our next stage. So the geometry is here as touchstones, as friends, these visuals that can help us as we're moving into this next stage of human potential. And this next stage, you know, it's an exciting one if we so choose it.
It's true. I've noticed there's a lot of people that are just completely doing the things that they want to do now versus whatever they were doing before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that people are beginning to really realize that you can't live your life the way you used to,
Yeah.
because it just didn't have that verve, that reason. So now we're beginning to move into a new place, which is
Yeah.
fun. And I really love that you have that green one behind you, which is super lush and alive. And the
Yeah.
colors are like unreal. It's
Yeah.
like something, the last time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I want to eat it. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. This one, it's like Rainbow Fantastico, like
it's
seed,
super juicy,
seed
like that
pod.
big bubble gum.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really a special piece, and we welcome it. We welcome the new beginnings.
Heard.
Yeah. And we can do a meditation with this piece. So, welcome to the New Beginnings meditation. So, I assume that everybody who's tuning into this has an appreciation for the visual sense. So, let's just be with the visual sense for a moment and begin to allow the form to flicker. Perhaps you can soften the gaze and begin to notice the layers and the dimensions. And as you're doing this, you can receive the form by focusing on the breath and beginning to drop into the heart. So, right now, we are being asked to drop into the heart. And the way you do that is you just focus on the inhale and the exhale of your chest. So, taking a moment to bringing the breath, inhaling and exhaling. And as you do that, invite your body to move into a series of micro relaxations. So, relaxing the feet, relaxing the hips, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the neck, Some things might want to stretch and move. Maybe you're going to lift up and create more space in the vertebrae and drop the hips down. And taking another deep audible breath into the heart center. And exhale, letting go even more deeply. And now we're going to do some audible breaths. So nice deep breath into the heart center. And exhaling, letting it all go. And two more of those on your own. So nice deep breath into the heart, rising the chest. And exhale, letting it go. One more for good measure. So from this expanded state, I'm going to read you the transmission of this painting, and then I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and we'll go a little bit deeper. New beginnings. Born in the high 2020 seasons of change, new beginnings activates the courage for rebirth. The time is now to transform, to be an even more loving expression of all that is. All seeds crack and surrender in the processes of the unknown, embedded with the codes of expansion. To give self over to the mystery of a new beginning is to step with grace into the threshold of the divine. For once you crack, you will go all the way in speed through the interdimensional doorways of your higher consciousness. Embrace the chaos to transform anew. Enter the great womb. Surrender to the void. Balance the polarities of change by bringing the old, by bridging the old and the new without fear. The varieties are great. Welcome the process of change. I surrender. I birth a reality where fear does not exist. I am free to expand. I am. And now I invite you to close your eyes as you take in a nice deep cleansing inhale and exhale. And allow the form to digest into the nervous system. And allow the invitation for rebirth and new beginnings to digest in the nervous system. And with the breath, you can begin to anchor this opportunity for new beginnings into your being by expanding a willingness with the breath. So the breath's coming in, it's expanding willingness. And as you exhale, you can direct the breath to let go of anything that does not serve your highest and best. And now I invite you to visualize from the base of your spine growing a root, like a grounding cord. And that root goes through the floor and it passes through the layers of the earth, the layer of sand and dirt, moving through boulders and rocks, extending down through underground rivers, perhaps extending through crystal caves, going all the way down through the plates, and it's connecting to that lava molten center core, that juicy core of earth. Connect your body energetically to that core and turn your grounding cord on. You have sovereignty over your body. You have sovereignty over your experience. And set the command to release and let go any stories, beliefs, outmoded behaviors, outmoded thinking that no longer serves your highest and best, to create space for the new beginning that is seeking to be birthed through you. Taking a nice deep breath in, inviting that cleansing energy to pull and drain anything that doesn't serve your highest and best down the grounding cord. to be recycled. Inhale, breathing in, and exhale, letting go. Visualize a coil wrapped around the grounding cord and imagine that coil is pulling from the energy field. Any subtle effects and blocks that are affecting the subtle body are now being drained down. Turn that energy center on too. So the grounding cord and the coil are both turned on. And allow that system to work with you throughout the day, knowing that you can send anything down there that does not serve. It just gets recycled like compost. And now, as below, so above, connecting from the crown of your head and inviting a beam of light to come from above. And visualize that light coming in like a spiral, coming in through the crown of the head, moving through the brain, closing down any files that no longer serve, nurturing the circuitry of the brain, connecting to the master glands, and then moving that energy down the throat. This spiral of golden light is moving through the body, through the shoulders, activating the heart to now be the dominant thinking organ of the body, because the heart has the blueprint for your next stage of becoming. It's this journey that we're on is not seeking to be mentally driven any longer. The earth is seeking for all of us to be operating from our heart center. And then allow that heart, your heart, to be activated with this golden light. And as it moves down, it's activating the digestion organs so you can process and digest this new information, these new awarenesses. It's moving down in the reproductive organs so you can creatively express your God-given talent, your highest passion with the world. And then that energy is moving down into the grounding cord as an offering. Taking a breath in here and then repeating quietly in the mind, may I anchor my highest and most benevolent expression of self on earth now. May I anchor my highest and most benevolent expression of self on earth now. And we do it in service. I do this in service to my own evolution and in service to my brothers and sisters and in service to the collective. Taking a nice deep breath in and exhale. And you can seal this meditation with the words, I receive this healing, I receive this healing, I receive this healing, followed by the words, and so it is, and so it is, and so it is. And coming back into the room, coming back into your body, coming back all the way to our Zoom call. Zoom, Zoom. Air horn.
I did get a cool vision while you were saying it all.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, it was like a big macaroni with like a foot. It was pretty crazy.
Yes. Yes, macaronis.
I'm working on a new painting series myself right now, so I'm like, and it's cool because it will take sound or a meditation or whatever, and then it really doesn't take much, and I get all these amazing visions. So it was working while you were doing it. So thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
Awesome. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Do you feel more relaxed?
I do. I feel great.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I guess I'll say goodbye to everyone, and thank you so much for doing this with me right now. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, I would love to.
And thank you for showing us your art and your process and all of the cool things that you're working on, especially with the geometry. It's a different language to me, so
Yeah.
It's a different language than the one that I'm usually shuffling around diamonds, but it's definitely very elemental and important, and that's how I feel about it. So I do appreciate, because you could kind of show us a little bit about it so that we could understand it better. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay.
I do the group meditations. I'm going to be starting another series of them, and you
Okay.
our conversation before the call kind of inspired me to get that more on the calendar. So if anybody's inspired by that work, and the best way to stay in touch with me is, either through my website or through Instagram, obviously, is where we're exchanging information. So I'll be putting up my updates there of the next round of events.
Nice, very good. And I hope to definitely attend at least one, if not in person, then from afar.
Yeah, yeah, these will be virtual gatherings until they're back up
Yeah,
being live.
hopefully soon. Either way, thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon, dear.
Okay, sounds good. Ciao, ciao.